time in Lisbon, and I almost fell in love with the city in one day. So I'm really, really happy here. Thank you guys for organizing the conference. It's rare to see such young people with so much energy and care. I've been talking to a few conferences this year, and I was never as well welcomed as I was here. So thank you very much. So I work for Prezi. Just as out of curiosity, how much of you know about Prezi here? Wow! Wow, that's really cool. But I don't have to spend much time presenting what we're doing. I'm the lead designer at Prezi, which means that I am leading the team that is designing all the user interface and help you guys using our product. I was invited today to talk a little bit about the importance of design when having a startup. And I will start, I think what I would like to do today is actually, because one would say it's easy, you just have to make good design, right? And if you have good design, then you will be successful. But I think it's a little bit complex than that. And this is why today I would like to go a little bit beyond this idea of bad and good. And to start with, I'm going to start with an example that most of you know, because I guess cars have been a design object for a much longer time than interfaces have been. So if I were to ask you about this car, and if it's a good car or not, the first thing that you would like probably to see is, does it work? But don't click too far. Does it work? So does this car actually brings me from A to B? Because probably if this car doesn't bring you from A to B, you wouldn't tell me that it's a good car. The second thing is the symbolic value of this car. So you would also judge the car if it's a nice car. If you probably that when you buy a car, you also want this car to reflect a little bit, you know, who you think you are, your value. You want your neighbors to see this car and think that you're a cool guy. So that's actually very important. And historically, design has always been trying to make the link between these two things. So objects that on one hand are very functional objects, so they should work. On the other hand, they should be attractive objects with some cultural, aesthetic values that make you, as the owner or the user of this product, feel comfortable in a little bit of application and user interfaces. And I will try to apply the same way of thinking, because I think it's actually very similar on many points. So let's think about the software that is designed to be, you know, not something that is especially beautiful, but that should work and be as stable as possible. Kind of Windows 2000, for instance, was produced for 10 years. I couldn't find the exact numbers of instant copy, but I guess it was around 300 million copies. It was the most stable version ever released for a Windows operating system. And, well, probably you wouldn't print this out and put it as in your bedroom as a poster, but, you know, it worked. And still today, you would be surprised to see how many people are still using this software. On the other end of the line, this is an application that was designed, I think 3 years ago. This is a simple converter. And if you look at this application, it's just something that converts units into another unit. But look at the design. This is like something, this is not a purely functional product. You see, I mean, if you buy $2 or $3 of a converter, and it's like, here, I want to make the parallel with the other car. It's not something that is, you know, I just need to convert this quickly. There is a lot to do with the pleasure of using it, with the beauty of the interaction and the software. So this is a little bit like the pleasure of driving, if you want. So this application was designed with this kind of value in mind. And of course, also in software design, the middle ground where we try to merge, you know, user interfaces that are usable, but still we don't want them as dry or as ugly as Windows 2000. Today there is 3 different trends, and I just want to take some more time because this is a subject that I know better than cars. Skeuomorphism. You have heard this term. Okay, so there is still some designer in the room. So skeuomorphism is a word that means trying to replicate or bring into the digital world aspects that are inspired from the real world. So for instance, big, glossy glass effects, brushed metal, or fake leather, or, you know, this kind of detail that makes your app feel that as if it was made from real material. Apple, so far, so this might change soon because they changed their head of software design, Apple was following this direction, so it's pretty much a good example of what skeuomorphism is. In reaction to that, and especially since Windows a few years ago introduced their Metro UI language, there is this reaction of having very minimal and very flat design. So Windows 8 is a good example. This is a game for iPhone, it's called Letterpress. You can see a lot of trendy fashion applications now that use this very, very minimal design. So basically squares, flat color, no gradients, no effects, no shadow, just basically squares and fonts. And so we talked about Apple, Microsoft, we miss a third one here. And the third one that actually, and surprisingly I would say, starting to be a big player into the design field, you can not really see on the projection, but Google has been kind of following a middle way between this minimalism and this sort of skeuomorphic effect. So it's basically having a very minimal sort of design, but keep a minimum of effects that helps the user understand. So they formed an even more complex word than skeuomorphic. They call it skeuominimalism, but we're getting maybe too much into detail here. But these are the kind of things I just wanted to say that even within being the center of this edge here, there is still a lot of possible adjustment to where you put your design on this. And I think this is where I'm going to start to talk about Prezi. Prezi, when I joined Prezi, it was a bit more than 2 years ago, had this very iconic design. So this is something that we refer to as the bubble menu. So if there is old users of Prezi that might have used this, the zebra is the internal name for this object that allow you to manipulate objects. So these were extremely nice and iconic piece of user interface. We had tons of users that literally loved this, and when we started to change them or simplify them, we had so many people that started to say, no, you cannot do that, don't kill the zebra, don't kill the bubble menu, these are so cool. And indeed, if you have been using Prezi more recently, you would notice that we moved towards a more simple design, a more standard design. And people were really saying, no, Prezi is losing its spirit, Prezi is becoming like a boring normal software. And I really think that my answer to these people, and the reason also why I'm giving this talk today, is that this is a conscious decision. Why did we move from here to a more standard piece of user interface? Because, okay, the first one is iconic, it's really nice, but it's not that easy to use. How many people tried? I mean, we are doing a lot of user tests in Prezi, and seeing people trying to understand how such a thing works, I can swear that there was some really funny example of people really trying to figure their way out. How should they insert an image? How should they insert text using this? And they really couldn't understand it. So it was a beautiful but somehow more demanding interface. And there is also another aspect, is if you ask people about Prezi, like a year and a half ago, the first thing they would mention ever was the user interface. They would say, wow, I love Prezi, I love the bubble menu, this is really cool. And we somehow figured out that that was not the point of Prezi. We are not designing Prezi for showing people a new way to interact. We're designing Prezi to help people share their ideas, just as I'm doing now. So we would like to have people talking about their ideas and their presentation and telling us, I love Prezi because it's so easy to make a presentation. So this is what we needed to do. And if I want to make a parallel with the cars, if you ask a guy that owned a Mangusta about his weekend, he will tell you about his car, I'm sure. He will tell you, yeah, I went around, I drove 200 an hour, it was a super nice car, look at the leather on my seat, it's great. And if you ask maybe the owner of a Panda, he's not, of course, going to spend so much time talking about the Panda. But he might tell you about his weekend. He might tell you about what wonderful thing he has been discovering and went to. So this is exactly why it was a conscious strategic decision to move from a design that was certainly more iconic, certainly more different than anything else, towards a design that is more normal, because we want people to focus on the results and not on the product. So we don't, strategically for Prezi, we believe that it's more important to have a design that more people can use more easily, rather than less people that are proud because they could master such a strange interface. So I was asked to speak about design and what's important when you, in your startup, when you're going to hire your designer, what you should ask. And I guess after what I said, you cannot just ask them to make good design. I think the first question you really have to ask yourself is, what's the appropriate design for my brand? Do I want to design something that is really impressive, beautiful, but only a few people will be really proud of it? And I mean, it's very important that it looks good more than something that is too much utilitarian. And just a quick parenthesis. Of course, when we were talking about cars, there was a cost reason. You know, if you want to use real leather, it would cost more than plastic seats. If you want to use real exotic wood, it would cost more, which is not the case. In software, fake leather on the screen doesn't cost more than a flat rectangle. So this even makes this question more relevant. You really, because you can do anything, but do you want to really design a Ferrari when these people just need to have a daily piece of software? So this is actually a very strategical question. And ask yourself, I just put a few examples of questions. Is it for everyone? What is your product? Is it like a daily utilitarian product? Is it an interface for doing something that people would do for their work? Is it something that is more linked to a specific occasion? Is it something that is more an exceptional product that I want to use and I really want to spend time into using it, learning it? All these questions are very important when you think about. And what we usually call bad design is in fact design that is not appropriate to the product. So if you try to design a Ferrari for someone that needs just a basic, simple thing that works, or if you try to design something that is way too poor when these people actually need a richer experience. So it's really about finding the appropriate design. And there is one thing, and I'm almost done, I think I overdone my time already. It's really, and it's something that is more personal to me. I think that as designers, and I really love this quote, it's extremely important to never forget that the products are just tools. We use these to do something, right? It's not about loving the product, it's really about loving the people and what they can do with it. And people is an interesting definition. And when I'm talking about people, I'm not talking about the clean people on the Apple advertising that you see or on your Kinder Bueno packaging, these perfect people that none of us are. I'm talking about people that are usually, messy. We are unpredictable people. We like better communicating with other people than product, or at least normally. And I made a little graph here, which is interesting to see how do we relate with our products. So the left image is actually interesting. I think this iPhone was used as an ashtray. So you can see the guy is smoking and talking with his friend, and he probably didn't know where to put the ash, and for some reason it ended up on the iPhone. That's the normal relation we have with products. We as designers cannot accept this. We believe that people should, love their iPhone, love their product, but we don't care about product. And I mean, that's my point of view. Some people love their object probably a bit too much. And here we are on the edge of fetishism. Fetishism is very interesting. Just a quick parenthesis. Fetishism is the ability to love inanimate stuff, like this, for instance. I love you. By believing that there is a spirit in that thing. Some people believe their iPhone probably has a spirit, or I don't know. But so coming back to the thing, so in my previous slide I was saying, yeah, it's not about products, it's about people. Wow, it sounds really good, but the truth is it's a little bit about product, because you don't want to have a product that sucks. You don't want to have a bad product, of course, and if I didn't like product, I wouldn't be a designer. So it's also a little bit about products, and designers tend to be on that right edge of this, but hopefully we stop before being fetishist. So, yeah, so the one takeaway that I really would like you guys to have today is it's important to make nice design. Beyond good and bad, I think it's really a question of finding the appropriate design. And how do you find the appropriate design? It's only by being very clear on who you are doing this product for. And I think that was my last And I'm open for questions. Don't be shy. First,
I really love it. It's awesome Prezi. I use it a lot in my presentation.
let's say everyone.
Yeah. But for some specific kind of people, they really don't want it. I didn't ask, so I don't get the feedback from that. Do you know why we don't use it more? Because, like for instance, in some countries, they don't want us to present on Prezi. We want it on PDF or PowerPoint.
Yeah. So again, I think it's about, you know, for some things, some people don't need Prezi. So Prezi is just a medium. The presentation I gave today, I couldn't make this with a PowerPoint because if you noticed, I used a lot of space relation. I moved you guys for a map. It would have been really hard to do this with slides. So I needed to do it with Prezi, and we believe that there is tons of situations that would benefit from having such a tool. Now, if you feel you don't need it, we're not going to force you to use it. And unfortunately for us, I would say, we just passed 2 million users, so we have a feeling that there is a lot of people that are thinking that this kind of presentation tool might help them. But there will always be some people that won't need that. Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you. When we think about lean startup and minimal viable products, I think I already came for your answer, but what do you think is the importance of design when you're trying to just get the most basic product you can to market to see how the market reacts to it?
Yeah, good question. Minimum viable product is something, because Prezi is an agile company, we release multiple updates of the product every day. So this is something that is really at the heart of also in our daily work at Prezi. So good design doesn't necessarily means that you spend time on useless things. And I think good design starts at conception. So it's already, good design is also about what are you doing. So it's not only, you know, how much time you spend on, you know, polishing the details, because sometimes also at Prezi, I think our products have a lot of areas that are not polished or, you know, refined as much as I would like them to do. But it's okay. I mean, it's really a trade-off. I think so. My answer to your question, I guess, would be good design really starts, and you should involve design early on in the process with what is it that we try to do, and try really to focus because good design is of course not only how it works, it's how, you know, what do you do, is it what you decide to do, what kind of user flow you're optimizing for. And I think this is the kind of thing you can start with. If you don't have much time to polish the detail, and of course, you know, I'm a designer, there are some stuff that I see that probably no one would care about. So I do care about that. If we want to reduce it to a minimum viable product, I would say just focus to the core use of this product and don't do anything else. Just cut all the crap, cut all the things that are not what makes your product a different thing. And just focus on that. And polish it as much as you can, and when you don't have more time, just stop polishing it. You can polish it more after. Thank you. Well, yeah, okay. Then, please, if I forget, just raise your hand.
I'm an interface designer as well, and I'd like to know what your experience is of difficulties working with non-designers. Because I think the biggest thing is that we design sometimes for other designers, and sometimes they understand us, but other team members that are non-designers don't. So I'd like to know what your experience is.
Yeah, great question too. I think as a designer, by definition, you are a person that is in the middle of many different people. You are in between, if you work in a consultancy company, so for the client, you are in between your client, you are in between the guy that will develop your product, you are in between the product manager that want to do some stuff. So I think by default, we designers are in a position that we have to talk with a lot of people that are not designers. And of course, we have to also think about the user, which is even another point of view. So a good product for a client, a good product for a designer, and a good product for a user are three different sets of value. They overlap somewhere, but I would say that as a designer, it's really, really key that you can speak to other people than other designers. Otherwise, in my experience, the designer that know only how to speak to designer, they end up doing exhibitions or designing for magazines. I'm not criticizing it, I'm just saying that they're not making great products. So if you really want to be effective as a designer, you have to learn, even just to be able to convince someone to invest in your idea, or even to convince a client that this is a good design for you. You need to be able to present your ideas to people that are not good.
So you're saying that we do have to convince people that we might know what we're talking about and that we can't control it.
You need to understand what everyone is expecting from your work as a designer. Doesn't mean that you have to give them exactly what they expect, because you can convince them, but you have at least to understand what I mean, I worked for many years in a consultancy company, and we were designing software for big telecommunication company or big banks, and the people we were talking to were absolutely not interested in design. They were just, their objective was to raise the view of this page by 20%. So it was, if you as a designer come here and try to explain this guy was a skew minimalistic approach is better than a skeuomorphic approach, this guy is just not going to understand you. So it's really about trying to understand who you're talking to and getting your point across that by cutting all the things that are not interesting for this person. There were some questions here, yeah. And I'm just tell me when.
Why is Prezi only an online platform? Why is it a program like Microsoft Office?
So Prezi is not just an online presentation. We have a local application. It runs also on your phone. We have an iPad application. Although we are born in the cloud, and I think this is a clear advantage. So I'm just giving you an example. So today, I needed to review my presentation. I didn't have to download it. I didn't have to do anything. It was already on my iPhone. I just pull my iPhone and it's there. So we believe that there is a huge advantage of leveraging the internet. And we have a lot of ideas for the future where we would leverage a presentation to online. Means a lot of possibility. Rather than just having a PowerPoint closed on your computer, there are some technical challenges, but we are addressing them. So how do you access your presentation when you don't have internet? Yeah, we have solutions for
yes, you were saying before that some teachers don't allow us to use Prezi because of the access to the internet, because sometimes we don't have that, or it can fail, because the internet can go down, and all the presentation is there.
So there is a solution for all of this. We have Prezi Desktop, which is an application that doesn't need internet to run. You would need it only the first time to sign up and activate your account. But once this is set up, you don't need it. And like for instance, on our mobile application, you can review your presentation. For instance, if you're in the plane, you don't have internet, you can still review. So we have a lot of solutions. That just tells me that we need to get better at communicating with people. If you don't know about it, it's a problem. Thank you. And just to finish, I just want to tell all of you guys a secret. So, if you are designer, developer, and willing to change the way people share ideas, just find this man here. And he's going to give you, we have a lot of gifts for you, stickers, sunglasses, just find him. Thank you.